As I've grown in this journey as a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as an Israelite, I still find the meanings of the names Adam and Eve an odd and mismatched pairing. Or so I thought. Something I've always found was the pairing of Adam and Eve when it comes to their names to be odd. As I've grown in this journey as a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as an Israelite, I still find the meanings of the names Adam and Eve an odd and mismatched pairing. Or so I thought. But first, before I explain why I feel this way, let's start by using the correct terminology. Adam's true name is Adam, meaning red. Then we have Eve. Her true name is Chava, meaning life or life giver. Scripture even tells us in Genesis chapter 3, verse 20, and Adam called his wife's name Chava because she was the mother of all living. What makes this strange to me is that Adam's name means red, as stated previously. And remember, Adam's red color isn't scarlet red, isn't fire engine red. It's a ready red, meaning it's brown. I did do a video about this concerning the shades of red and the complexion of Israelites, and I've included a link to the video in the description box below. Adam's ruddy complexion is the same ruddy complexion that hairy Esau had, and the same ruddy complexion that King David had, which is King David. What I find strange is that Adam, the first man, is named because of his ruddy complexion, but the first woman, Chava, is named because of her being life, a life giver, the mother of all living. Why wasn't Adam named the father of all living? Honestly, I think there is a reason for that, but I won't address it in this video, perhaps in a future video. But still, why didn't their names match? Adam was described by his color. Why wasn't Chava? Or was she? Perhaps their pairing isn't so odd after all. A ruddy man and the mother of all living? Let's explore more about Mama, the mother of all living, Mama Chava, and see if we can develop our understanding about Mama and Daddy's relationship. Perhaps their names tell us more than we know. And again, Adam, ready, and Chava, the mother of all living. Ask yourself, what does color and life have anything to do with each other? And for people who like to say color doesn't matter, I'd say you really don't know your scriptures very well. In fact, the more you learn them, the less you can get away from talking about color. Clearly, scripture thinks color and image matters because it's talked about. In the beginning, the first man was named because of his color. So again, color and life. Color and life. What's the connection? We know Adam was ready, but what did Chava look like? What does her name tell us? The mother of all living. It appears the meaning of her name can be proven scientifically. Her name is pointing us to melanin. Her name is pointing us to melanin. Yes, melanin. First, let's start by addressing a scientific term called mitochondrial DNA is genetic material found in mitochondria. It is passed down from mothers to both sons and daughters, but sons cannot pass along their mother's mitochondria to their children. This is because mitochondrial DNA is transmitted through the female egg. The mitochondrial DNA found in the egg is non-recumbent, meaning that it does not combine with any other DNA so that it is passed down virtually unchanged through the direct maternal line over the generations. You inherited your mitochondrial DNA exclusively from your mother. It's named Mitochondria Eve because it links all humans to one single mother, whom the science world tries to call mitochondrial Eve. But the part that catches my attention is that even mitochondria has a relationship with melanin, a very close one in fact, so close that scientists claim they don't know much about. Now, I am inclined to believe that their claim of not knowing much about melanin is true. I'm sure that there's a lot that they don't know, and they too are learning, but I'm aware that they do hide what they know until they've decided otherwise. Therefore, I cannot explain what scientists themselves say that they don't know. I can only bring to your attention that even in this area, there's still a connection with mitochondria and melanin through a process called melanogenesis. Melanogenesis. The word melanogenesis says it all. When you break that word down, the first part of melanogenesis, of course, is melano, which means black or dark. The second part is genesis, which we all know means the beginning. So I thought that term alone is very interesting. And again, melanogenesis, the name is telling us it's the beginning and the start of dark or blackness. Here's something else that needs to be understood. Melanin has been presented to the world in an extremely deceptive manner. Most of our understanding about melanin is limited to a skin pigment that protects us from the sun. But there is so much more to melanin. In the next series of videos, we'll address just that. It will scratch the surface just enough to show how deep this rabbit hole really goes. But for this video, we'll see why Kava and Adam have a melanin connection. Let's understand that melanin, specifically eumelanin, which I'll discuss that more in a separate video. Eumelanin comes in two colors. It comes in brown, aka reddy, and it also comes in black. Now remember, Adam is reddy, or in other words, he's brown. The other half of eumelanin is black. When you study melanin, you'll discover that melanin is the molecule of life. The other half of eumelanin is black. So again, what does kava look like? Continuing, when you study melanin, what you'll discover is that melanin is the molecule of life. But before we go deeper on melanin being the molecule of life, let's address a few things. What I've found in my studies on melanin is that there is a ton of deceptive information in mainstream sources. Many articles and documents are written in a way where the word melanin is never mentioned, but it is discussed. That happens more often than you know. During this process, I've read articles where pheomelanin, neuromelanin, and eumelanin, which will all be discussed in a later video, are all blanketed under one umbrella word, melanin. And unless you know what they're talking about, you'll miss what was said, because each type of melanin has a different function. Also, I've noticed that you have to be careful when obtaining information from mainstream sources about melanin, because they are very crafty in how they present information. They use subtle tactics to discredit people. They frequently put a negative slant on certain topics, or they like to cast an air of doubt over certain subject areas about eumelanin. This is done with words or statements like, not much is known about melanin. It's controversial. It's suspected. It's debatable. Melanin is ubiquitous. It could be argued, and the list goes on. And lastly, I've noticed that they make it very complicated for the average person to really research and learn about melanin, because so much of this topic is written with the frequent use of heavy scientific language and or medical terminology. These are tactics used to keep people in the dark and away from really learning about melanin. Now, of course, the Black conscious community has been telling us a lot of truth about melanin for a long time now. But again, as I've stated, mainstream society deters people from looking into it by discrediting the Black conscious community. This is done with words like pseudoscience, or pseudoscientific theory, and it's even associated with a form of racism. Keep in mind, it's only considered pseudoscience when Black people teach about melanin. It's only considered pseudoscience when Black people teach about melanin. It's only considered pseudoscience when Black people teach about melanin. When mainstream non-Black sources teach about melanin, then it's considered science. This does not mean that I agree with everything that the Black conscious community teaches, but not everything that they say is wrong either. The only way to figure out the difference between a lie and truth is by using scripture as your guide. And as stated in 2 Timothy 2:15, you have to rightfully divide the word of truth. One thing the Black conscious community will tell you is that melanin is the key to life. Again, they will tell you in the Black conscious community that melanin is the key of life. Remember, Kava means mother of all living, a name given to her by her other half, by her ruddy husband, by a hue man, by a colored man. But again, mainstream sources present information on melanin in a very deceptive manner. So far, I've only been able to come across one non-Black person to confirm that melanin is the key of life. His name is Arturo Solis Herrera. I don't know any of his personal beliefs, although I'm certain that he is not interested in the advancement or the well-being of Black people. And honestly, it's irrelevant. I'm only interested in the information he is presenting, not in his personal beliefs. It appears he published a book titled Melanin, the Master Molecule. I've also come across an article associated with him titled The Origin of Life According to Melanin. The title alone says everything. Now, I have not read the book Melanin, the Master Molecule, but here are a few things that I've read that stood out to me. So one item that I read says, the authors also delve into the possibility of melanin being the key molecule needed to spark life, since its water dissociating properties through the absorption of light energy emulates the role of chlorophyll. But unlike the latter, it is not limited to the plant cell environment. Hence, melanin is referred to as the master molecule, which can provide a missing link to the biochemical process behind the origin of life. So already in the first sentence, we're told authors also delve into the possibility of melanin being the key molecule needed to spark life. Melanin, the key molecule needed to spark life. They're already saying melanin is the key molecule needed to spark life. Kava, the mother of all living. And then even in the last sentence, it tells us, hence, melanin is referred to as the master molecule. Melanin is referred to as the master molecule, which can provide a missing link to the biochemical process behind the origin of life. The origin of life. So the other item that I read, which I found interesting, was it said, a molecule whose proven stability is 160 million years old. A substance that seems to mark the frontier between the living and non-living matter, widely disseminated in the universe and in all living beings. In all living beings. And whose main characteristic is that it is capable of absorbing visible and invisible light and dissipating the energy absorbed by dissociating the water molecule, such as chlorophyll in plants. If we want to explain the origin of life rising from a substance with the characteristics above noted and others, then it is possible that much sought after explanation of the origin of life is very close to being achieved. The name of the molecule concerned is melanin. And then in the book that he wrote, and I believe this was in the book Melanin, the Master Molecule. Again, I have not read his actual book. I just saw different articles and excerpts from the book. And it's online. And when I was online, I tried to view and read some of it online, especially the chapter that stuck out to me the most. This was chapter 1, page 8, which was titled Melanin, the Fundamental Molecule of Life and Evolution. Unfortunately, like I said, they do have this book online, but when I looked for that page, it was omitted. Again, he's the only person outside of the Black conscious community that I've seen acknowledge this, that basically melanin is the origin of life. Melanin is the key to life. Although I'm sure he's well known in his field of study, I'm certain Black people, especially Black Americans, know little to nothing about him and are not looking out or basically paying attention or checking for him because most of his presentations, speeches, and etc. are in Spanish. He appears to have been born and raised and even still resides in Mexico. Therefore, most of his audience are Mexican. And when we look to other mainstream sources, especially in the US, I cannot find articles that outright confirm that melanin is the key to life. Instead, they confess it in a roundabout way. So let's examine some of their roundabout ways that they confess this without just outright saying it. The Black conscious community will tell you that sperm and egg are both coated in melanin. And they'll tell you that melanin is present at the time of conception. And the absence of melanin, or the lack thereof, during conception will lead to birth defects and or miscarriages. Again, I don't see this acknowledged in mainstream sources. But of course, in a roundabout way, they do confirm and echo the same sentiments as the Black conscious community. Example, as I mentioned previously, the Black conscious community will tell you that the sperm and the egg are both coated in melanin. So on the other hand, mainstream sources will create articles that point out infertility in men. And they say that this infertility is caused by the sperm missing a coating. They'll mislead the reader or tell the reader it's missing a protein coating. But personally, I just feel like that's a smokescreen. I can't help but to feel that there's more to what they're telling us than what we're reading in this article. Why do I feel that there's more to what they're telling us than this? But maybe it's me. Now, I've heard the Black conscious community state that there are 13 times more melanin in the cerebral spinal fluid than in the blood of the circulatory system. Mainstream sources don't reveal this to people, at least not in terms that people can understand. The Black conscious community will tell you that melanin is present at the time of conception. Again, the Black conscious community will tell you melanin is present at the time of conception. I can't find this openly acknowledged by mainstream sources, but mainstream sources point out hyperpigmentation during pregnancy. Then there's embryonic stem cell research, which is extremely important on their study for Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder caused by depigmentation in the substantia nigra. The substantia nigra is Latin and means black substance. It's located in the midbrain. So the definition of the substantia nigra, it's a layer of large pigmented nerve cells in the midbrain that produce dopamine and whose destruction is associated with Parkinson's disease. So in other words, if it's destroyed, this is what leads to Parkinson's disease, is what they're saying vaguely. So therefore, embryonic stem cells are crucial in addressing Parkinson's disease. They say the reason is because the embryonic stem cells have the ability to grow into anything, making them highly attractive. This is because they have an unlimited development potential to function as needed in any part of the body. Embryonic stem cells are used in research just a few days after conception, or, as they put it, when they are just a few days old. Again, mainstream sources will not outright say melanin is present at the time of conception. But to fix a neurological issue that results from depigmentation in the midbrain, they need embryonic stem cells. They only tell half the truth. The half they are telling you is that the newly fertilized cells have an unlimited development potential to function as needed in any part of the body. But the problem lies in what they are not saying. See, what they are saying is that they need it to restore dopamine. This is easy for them to confess to and easy to say because most people don't associate dopamine with melanin. Dopamine is responsible for your movement, learning, and rewards. It's basically considered a neurotransmitter sending signals to and from the brain. Neuromelanin is found in dopamine. As stated previously, Parkinson's is caused by depigmentation, or in other words, the loss of pigment. The pigment is neuromelanin, not eumelanin, it's neuromelanin. Neuromelanin is found in dopamine. Therefore, what they are not saying is that they need embryonic stem cells for their development potential as neuromelanin replacements in dopamine, which is found in the midbrain. Do you see all the hoops they put people through just to read an article that tells you everything but what you need to know about melanin? All the average person knows is that Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder and they need embryonic stem cells to fix it. They don't tell you that Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder caused by the loss of neuromelanin, and they need melanin-rich embryonic stem cells to develop into new dopamine neuron cells, filled with neuromelanin to replace what was lost. Neuromelanin is black in color. So if we were to go back to what was previously being addressed concerning the Black conscious community's claims that melanin is present at the time of conception, it's hard to call that pseudoscience. If that was not true, if it were fake science, then why are embryonic stem cells so important in addressing a melanin deficient disease? I know I've said a lot, but hopefully it was clear. The point I'm making is melanin is the key to life. Kava, life giver. The melanin that is essential for life is neuromelanin, which is a black pigment that controls the neurological functions. And the other is eumelanin, which I've once heard referred to as true melanin. Of course, that's not broadcasted on mainstream sources. Eumelanin comes in two colors, brown, aka ruddy, and black, Adam and Kava. And considering the little bit we've learned about melanin today, I'd say I have a deeper understanding about the pairing of Adam, meaning ruddy, and Kava, meaning life giver. Shalom.